All right. Well, Camille, thank you so much for hopping on this call with me. I really appreciate it. This is a series we like to do. We just call it the Amplify REI show. It's both a podcast and just a YouTube show. And it's a great opportunity for us to learn from seasoned investors that are just crushing it right now, like yourself. And so I'm excited to just get to know you a little bit better. So thanks for being on the call.
Thank you. I'm honored to be here. Really, I am. So thank you so much.
That's awesome. So Camille, you live in Houston, so you're doing a lot of deals in real estate investing in Houston. Tell me a little bit about your first deal as a real estate investor, and like how you actually got into this industry. Because I know a lot of people do it as maybe a side gig or whatever. So I'd love to hear your experience.
Right. I probably started. I didn't realize it at the time, but I probably started into the hardest part you could ever do. But I did have a full-time job. I was a nurse in the medical field. My husband is at the VA hospital, works in physical therapy. I quit my job to stay home after I had my first child because I knew I was going to be having more children. Mm-hmm. And it didn't make sense for me to go back to work. By the time you pay for childcare, pay for traveling to get all the way into Houston, I just thought, by the time you do that, it's not worth it. So I ended up quitting my job to stay home. And honestly, I love my kids, but I needed something else to do.
Yeah, I understand.
I was like, oh my goodness, like I'm going to go crazy. So it just so happened that my mother-in-law had sent me a book written by a real estate investor. She was editing the book. And I happened to read it because she's like, hey, read over this. Make sure I didn't miss anything with my editing. Honestly, at the time, I had no interest in real estate at all. Okay. So I read this book. I really didn't even get the whole book. I think it was way over my head. Yeah. Until I got to the end, and it said something about investing in tax sales. And it said Texas was the best state to do it in. And then it also mentioned in there, a tax sale will, when they foreclose, they wipe out the lien on the property and the bank is gone. That's all that you pay is what's owed on the taxes. Well, I was so intrigued by this. I never bought a property at the auction, but my first auction I went to, I saw a property in Houston and I did all the research. My husband's like, it can't be that easy. You're kind of crazy. What are you doing? But I did. I showed up at my first auction, was totally intimidated, of course, but then just kind of watched, and I saw properties go for the price of taxes, and I was like,
holy cow.
Whoa, what's going on? But I also was there on the 4th of July. It was actually the 4th of July, and that's why I could go, because my husband was off of work. I went to the next auction. Of course, it was not so great. Like, they were going for like $40,000 more. There was a lot more competition. So I just happened to go on a really good auction. From there, I just realized, hey, this isn't going to be so easy. And started thinking, so that's where the interest came in. But the actual first deal, it was just someone I knew from church, happened to tell me she was getting a divorce. She was going to have to move to California to stay with her parents. And I honestly didn't think about it then, but that night I went home and I said, wow, what if I could just take over her payment? She told me I can't make the next payment on my house. I'm going to have to leave because my husband's gone. And so then I just said to my husband, hey, what if we just start making her payments? And we just move into her house. And he's like, well, we have our house. You're kind of crazy. Like, what are we going to do? How are we going to make her payments and make our house payment? And we only had one house. The first home purchase we ever did, I thought we were signing our life away. I mean, it was so many documents to sign. Yeah. But I went to her and I just kind of presented the offer. I said, hey, what if I just take over your payments and you sign the house over to me? And she said, that would be amazing. Could you do that for us? So she wasn't behind yet. We stepped in and made her next payment. My husband only agreed to do it. He's like, if we get our house rented before this next payment hits, then I'll do it. So then I put a sign in the yard in our home, had it rented within like a week.
That's awesome.
Just a like for rent sign. They called me up. So then I'm like, okay, we're doing this. We're moving into the house. So the crazy thing is, looking back, I mean, there's so many things that could have gone wrong with that. But luckily, I mean, I didn't know how to check title. I didn't know how to do anything. All I knew was a deed to the property was ownership. I just took my deed ownership documents from the house that we bought, pretty much just copied it all, put her name in there as the, I could see the county appraisal district and I can see how her name was on title. So I just put her name in, put my name in. I literally drove to the county and filed that deed myself at the county office. I thought I would get in trouble. I was nervous because I didn't know if I was going to walk in there and they were going to say, you can't do this. You can't just, but they filed the deed and asked me if I wanted a copy, and I felt like I was leaving, like I had robbed the bank or something.
That's so funny.
My husband did say to me, he was so nervous about it the whole time. This loan being in somebody else's name and us paying on the loan, it totally worked. But he was so nervous that we had done something wrong, or that a police officer would show up at some point, or that something would happen. My husband's a very, I'm more the entrepreneur. Yes, he's a rule follower. He's very careful, conservative. Like, he's just, we balance each other out, really.
Yeah, that's very similar to my wife and in my relationship. She's very much so, not a perfectionist, but like very organized, very needs to be like, everything needs to be planned out, thought through. Yes, and I'm the opposite. I'm like, let's just go. Let's go.
Yeah. And he is a perfectionist, actually. Very, almost OCD, just very, particular. So, but I don't have to, like, as you can see with that deal, I didn't do any research. I just said, hey, we'll make it work. And if something happens, I'll figure it out when I get there.
Yeah.
And I noticed most people are not like that now. At the time I was determined to do this, and we ended up refinancing that house because he was so nervous, and he does have a full-time job. So we were able to get another loan.
Yeah.
But from there, I realized we got into this house with no money down. No one checked our credit. Once we got the house, it was really easy to refinance versus getting a purchase loan on a second home, where I know we would have had a down payment. We would have had so much stuff to go through. And so, we went from there, and it worked out. And then this light bulb was on at that point. I was like, I'm finding more of these.
Scratch that itch you didn't know you had. And I'm sure from there, so from there, did it just kind of start taking off? You're like, I'm just going to do this. I'm going all in.
Yeah, I think that was just kind of that, before then I was reading some, I had researched that tax auction. So I had done some research, and it wasn't like I just went and got that deal right away. I had already been going on YouTube, and that's how I knew I could take over a deed. And actually that book that I read from my mother-in-law, it mentioned get the deed. I just read it thinking, okay, get the deed. I get it. You keep saying that. But until it happened, I was like, oh, this is what he means. Just go get the deed. So from that experience, I did switch the homeowner's insurance. And she had a really high homeowner's insurance on it. And I saw that, and I went and got a new one. She ended up getting a check for $3,000 because the the escrow company reimbursed the money. Wow. And from there, I learned, okay, well, you need to make sure you have the mailing address for the insurance company to come to you, or make sure the insurance has already been paid and done, and then go get your new insurance. So I learned from a lot of things from that deal, actually, and just kept implementing the same thing and getting better and better and better. So most of the homes I own now are subject to. Yeah. I've taken over the loans, and I have 40 of them right now. I've done way more than that, but some of them I just turned and sold, or fixed them up and sold them. But those are the ones I kept.
Yeah, that's awesome. So you're really focused on the creative financing, subject to helping people just kind of get out of their house if need be, and just providing a solution. Do you do much wholesaling, or is you
never? I hardly ever wholesale. There might have been a few that I guess there was one that I ended up getting the deed to, and it needed so much work. I did, not on purpose, just found an investment company that came in and said, hey, I'll pay you cash for this. But I think I got creative because most of these people I found were behind. I learned how to stop foreclosures. I had to work out some creative stuff sometimes,
Yeah.
most of the time. So from there, I think I just learned, maybe with the hardest situations actually, because ever since I started doing Amplify, I never marketed before at all. I would
Okay.
go knock on their doors. I would find them on the foreclosure list. I would call them up. I'd find them on Facebook. Most of the ones I end up getting, they were vacant at that point. These people only had maybe a week left before the house was not theirs anymore.
Uh-huh.
So I never had to do marketing. Like, I mean, I was marketing because I was out there knocking doors and I was
Yeah.
like,
So were you pulling county records and finding pre-foreclosure properties and then just knocking on the doors?
exactly. Yep. Yep.
Okay.
And then I was finding people behind on their taxes. I was finding people behind on HOAs. I was driving neighborhoods and finding empty homes, and then calling them up saying, "Hey, I'll buy your house," or "Oh, what's going on with your house? I'll fix the problem." So yeah, never ever paid for direct mail. Didn't do any of that. This is my first time doing actual paid marketing.
Yeah.
And the reason is these last couple of years, the stuff that I was doing wasn't working anymore. I was getting like a house a month. I mean, it was since 2010 all the way, well, 2010 was our first home. And I maybe got 3 that year. 2011, I maybe got maybe about 3. 2015, and I ended up getting 30 houses
Holy cow.
because I
Wow.
ended up just getting better and
Yeah.
finding more stuff. And but yeah, ever since 2015 till 2018, I was getting a house a month, like
Wow.
just taking over the loan, saving the property, fixing any kind of issues. So then, yeah, 2018 till now, it's been really, really hard because everybody can get everyone's cell phone. People don't even answer their cell phone anymore. They're so tired of telemarketers.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't getting anybody. Like no one would respond.
Yes. You felt like you needed to pivot.
Yep. So then I reached out to some Facebook people. I knew Facebook was the way to go. You have to stay ahead of the game, right? You have to stay ahead
Yeah.
of the So Facebook, but the sad part is I hired 2 other people. One person completely scammed me, just took my money, ran. Another company, they were good. They're more expensive than Amplify.
Okay.
I was paying more for them. I had a lot of leads, but the leads were not as good as Amplify's leads. I
Okay.
mean, I would say half of them I couldn't even contact. The number wasn't good, or they just would never respond. And then I hired just a marketing guy, and he would just analyze every little thing, but he wasn't a real estate
Yeah.
guy. So that was not bad. It was just going to take longer to get it all set up. I started with your team. Wow. I mean, everything was set up within 2 or 3 days.
Yeah.
I had a lead, I think within 3-4 days.
Awesome.
That first lead that I got, it came in on a Monday. It was Monday night. I called him on Tuesday. I had an appointment set to see the house on Wednesday. I bought that house within 2 weeks.
No, you didn't.
Yes.
No way. That's awesome.
From the day I got the lead. So I think that was the fastest I've ever, well, I wouldn't say the fastest, because if I'm just taking over a deed, I mean, I get that in a day. But
Yeah.
like this was a cash purchase. I have private lenders now because I've just done enough. But yeah.
That is so cool.
Closed it within, it was awesome. And I was like, wow, is that just kind of lucky, or am I going to get more like that? So, but I have about 3 or 4 in the works from Amplify. But honestly, I think if you're just a regular investor, if you're just going to buy cash and just flip the house, these other 3 deals probably wouldn't work, because one of them is in a divorce. And of course, I'm great at that because I'm stopping these foreclosures. He's behind on payments.
Yeah.
And I'm like, hey, instead of waiting for your divorce and waiting for this mediation thing to happen, which could be forever, by the time your divorce is over, your house will be foreclosed on. It's not even a question. Your house is going to be gone. And he has tons of equity in the house, but he's like stuck in this divorce. And I said, this is what you can do. Go offer your wife cash now to sign a deed now. You don't have to wait for your divorce attorneys. You don't have to wait for everything to go through. You can negotiate this. Your divorce attorneys are not real estate attorneys, right? So they don't protect your house. They'll protect your marriage or, you know, your negotiations. But so, and he's like, but I don't have the cash to give to the, I'm like, I'm going to put up
I
the
do. Yeah.
I'm going to do it. So, and then I said, I can give you a cash offer and you're going to have to wait for your divorce. Or I guess by the time, if she signs the deed over, you can still have your cash offer. But I can also partner with you on this house. You have tons of equity. You would get way more money if you partner and we work together when we flip the house together. I think a lot of real estate investors wouldn't offer that because there's a lot of risk. Like, what if, you know, if you partner with somebody, are they going to hold up the sale? What if you can't sell the property without them? I mean, there's all kinds of issues, but I do know how to protect myself with different paperwork and willing to make this a better situation for them and make it a good situation for me and stand out above the other investors, right?
Yeah.
So, this is the first time I've had to be competitive with other investors because usually it's just me and that's it. And I'm the only one after their house and I don't have to negotiate normally. So no, this is a whole different world. Sorry, I just keep talking.
No, you're fine. I love it. It is fantastic.
Talking. You can tell I love it. I love what's so amazing about this for me is I like helping the people. It's going to be the people before it is ever money for me.
Yeah.
And I was just so happy that I could help people and make money at the same time.
Yeah.
And then to be able to help people and make money and make more than I ever did, even in the medical field, I just thought this is too good to be true. Like, no one ever taught me this was out there. And then I started thinking, everybody should do this because I love it. But I realized not everyone loves solving problems, talking to people, dealing with their issues. And it's not easy. It's definitely, there is definitely work involved. But when you love it and you get good at it, it's totally worth it.
It's totally worth it. That is awesome. Yeah. Well, this is the common trend I've found amongst, investors that typically see success with our program is one, they have multiple solutions they can offer, whether it's, listing, wholesale, and creative financing are probably the top three. And the more solutions you can provide, the more problems you're going to solve, right? And so creative financing, I tell every single investor that comes on board with us that doesn't already know about subject to lease options, all these different things, go research it because it opens up a whole nother side of the business that some people just want quick cash from wholesale deals, but you can also do a ton of creative financing without using cash too. So everyone should do it, and it opens so many doors.
And keep going.
No, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, I have noticed over all these years, so I guess it's been 9 years, just find out what they really need. Because I think sometimes as investors, we come in and we want to tell them what we can do, or this is what I'm going to do, but you find out what it is that they really want. Because sometimes they don't even want the money. Sometimes they're like, I just want to leave. I just want to leave. Just make this easy for me, And so just really listen. I think we make a lot of mistakes as investors to not really listen to the person and really listen to what the problem is and how to fix that problem. So, but keep going.
No, that was going to be the second thing. The second common trend is those that see success care about the happiness of the people they're serving. Like they're in it for the people, and the money's just kind of like a bonus. But what we've found is those that serve their customers more make more money. It's like this weird cycle that tends to work out. And I've worked with a lot of different investors all over the country, some in huge giant hedge funds, multi-million, if not close to $1 billion hedge funds. And they have a very different approach because they're doing volume and they have all the money in the world, but they're kind of jerks. They say, take my offer or don't, get lost. But those that are small business and, growing your own portfolio, it is a people business. and then the real estate and the solution you're providing is the product and the service. But it is totally, totally a people business. Would you agree with what you've seen?
Oh, yes, hands down. That's the biggest, best thing you could do. You know, a lot of people say what you put out into the universe is what you get back, and I totally, totally believe that. Because there's people that will take advantage, but honestly, they're not going to really be successful in the future. So it makes a big, big difference. Yes.
That's awesome. So was that that deal you did, the first lead we got you, was that your most recent deal then that you've closed?
That's the one that we've closed. I do have the divorce guy still, and the wife never showed up at mediation. So I probably at this point should offer, hey, you want me to contact the wife? Like, we don't have to wait for these attorneys, right? We don't have to wait for your next mediation, which I'll probably offer. And he was so devastated. He just said, I'm so sorry. And I said, hey, we can still work together. Don't worry about this. Like, I'll make sure that house does not foreclose in the meantime, and I'm still going to help you. It's not like the deal is over because your wife didn't work with you, so or didn't show up for mediation. So and then there is one other one. Well, there's actually more than that. I got two yesterday, but there's one where he got in trouble with. I know this Amplify is amazing. I mean, it really is so good.
I love hearing it. It makes us.
Yeah, it's great. It's great. I'm like, I want to start adding like I want to add Utah in. I have a lot of family in Utah. And then, yeah, I'm ready. I'm like, I can put the team in place. If I can get the leads, we've got this. So,
that is awesome.
Yeah, there's a couple more that, one other guy, a beautiful home, has tons of equity. I said, well, why don't you just list this? Like, I can help you list it. And he's like, well, I need the money now. And I said, really? You can't wait like 30 days to and he's like, can you just give me a loan for $35,000 and put on a second lien on the house? And I said, I really can. And then of course find out his cash, what was the most cash he wants. And so anyway, we're going back and forth, but he'll most likely go with us too. I'll probably take over his loan and give him cash for the difference, even though he has a lot of equity. It's still money I don't have to come up with, and a higher interest rate I don't have to pay. And so I'll probably do that, and then just turn and sell that one. Because
so you closed the one, and then you said like another 4 or 5.
5. There were 2 yesterday. There's 2. There's the divorce. Yeah, like 4 or 5.
You came on board with us at Amplify 2 months ago?
I don't even think it's been 2 months, to be honest.
Wild.
It may be close to 2 months, but I think it's more like 5, 6 weeks, maybe 6 weeks.
Okay, so not even 2 months. And you got 5 deals in the pipeline.
Yes. Yeah. Yep. And I actually could have a couple more. They're just wanting a little too much. So I'm just saying, hey, you can take these other investors' offers because I'm not going to give you that much.
Yeah.
Or, it doesn't make sense for me to give you that much. But so yeah, it's great.
That's
really
exciting. I keep having this reoccurring thought that your husband must be very happy with your decision to take over that first home.
He is now. Crazy enough, it took 6 years of him just kind of always questioning, like, well, where are you going to get the money, and how are you going to do that, and how are you going to do this, and just being always kind of a little bit the devil's advocate, or just a little bit. And so it was always kind of a fight, but now he's completely, even when I signed up for Amplify, he's like, you already signed up for this one company that took all your money, and you signed up for this other guy, and that didn't work, and you signed up for this. And but sometimes, you just got to keep trying until you find that right fit. And then what's good and what's not good. Also, the one that I was paying more money for the leads, for the Facebook ads, they didn't have the Amplify system behind it. They didn't have the automation. It was just pure leads just coming in directly to my phone. I had to track them all myself. I wrote them down on spreadsheets or paper. And I mean, everything was all over the place. It was like a nightmare to keep track of. But this has it all for you. It has that automated call that comes right back. And then the other one, when the call would come in, I couldn't always get to them right away. And it was, it was just a lot of work. And this is so much easier. It's like,
Yeah, well, we learned very quickly helping investors that leads does not equal deals. They
right.
are not necessarily correlated. You have to have leads, right? But you
Yeah.
have to have the systems, especially if you want to scale. Um, if you ever want to get over that revenue roller coaster or inconsistent income, you got to have systems in place. Else it's just gonna kick you
Oh,
in the.
I got one that came home. I'm doing
Right.
it.
Okay, so we'll just wrap up. So if you were to sum up one lesson you could, either tell yourself 10 years ago when you started this, or just give a tip to a brand new investor, what tips would you give?
Right. I know that's such a loaded question, and I'm glad you kind of prepped me a little bit beforehand. I would say don't give up. That's a big one. When I started, my dad was like, "Oh, there's sharks in real estate. Be really careful." And I felt like everybody was like, "Whoa, why are you gonna do that?" So yeah, don't give up. I think the other thing would be, that's a good question. Uh, I think finding something that you're good at and stick with that and let people do what they're good at. Like the real estate agent side, I don't enjoy
Yeah,
walking people through the home and showing them different houses. That would not be my side. I found that my side is I love talking to the people, working at a deal. So stick with the stuff you're good at and let people do what they're good at. if,
yeah,
if it's the accounting, it took me forever to hand over my accounting to someone. I was trying to do it all myself for years. And I don't love accounting. I'm not bad at it, but I don't love it.
yeah,
And so let people do what they're good at and find what you're good at and start there. And don't get overwhelmed. I think it can be really overwhelming at first. And just step by step, just find just find your skill set, do what you're good at with your skill set, and find your team members that can do the rest of it for you. And
yeah. And kind of an asterisk I would put out there is learn creative financing. And if
yes,
that's your thing,
that's
figure out how to do it, because that seems to be kind of your thing. You love people and you love solving their problems, and the creative financing is the way that you've been able to solve those problems.
true. That's
So
so true. Yeah.
it's kind of like the tool that you use to do something you love. So that's
Because you
super
can help
awesome.
anybody that comes along. You can solve any problem that shows up. And yeah, that's true.
Well, Camille, I cannot thank you enough. I really appreciate your time. We are thrilled and excited for your future success. We can't wait to hear about the next deal and these several more in the pipeline that are going to close.
That's right.
And we're excited to just continue to help you. So if there's anything else we can ever do for you, please reach out. We're here to see you.
Perfect. Yeah, I'm so glad I found Amplify for real. And I'm not getting paid for this either. Like this is just amazing. It's so nice when you find something that's great. So thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate
Yeah.
it.